Sometimes I just don't feel like doing anything. Like I just feel like sitting in my bed, relaxing, just vegging out. I don't feel like working on my content. I don't feel like working on my school assignments. I don't feel like working on my business. I just don't feel like doing anything, right? So what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. I always want to remind everyone it's never a bad idea to introduce yourself, and you're never too busy to stop and introduce yourself. So, with that being said, my name is Emmanuel Adams. This is my channel, imanlifestyles, where I take you on the journey that I'm embarking on associated with going from my current socioeconomic status to chasing the top 1% lifestyle, all the lessons, trials, and tribulations I learned along the way. If this is your first time on the channel, I just want you to watch the content. Don't like, don't subscribe, don't comment, don't share. Just watch and observe. Just want you to see what we're about, because this may not be a good fit for you. You may have just come across it in the Explore page. I don't know. But I just want you to observe it and think about what you see. That's it. If this is your second time on the channel, you can go ahead and like, dislike, comment, share, but don't subscribe yet. Don't subscribe. Just you can interact if you agree or disagree with the content. This is your second time around, you're a little more familiar with it. But if this is your third time, that means you're a three-peater. I need you to go ahead and subscribe, because that tells you one thing about you. You're dedicated to improving your life and where you're currently at. You want to be at a higher, most elevated level. And obviously, the YouTube algorithm or the Instagram algorithm or the TikTok algorithm, one of the algorithms has decided that the content that I'm presenting is what you've been looking for on the platform. So go ahead and subscribe, because that's the only way you're going to keep this content rolling through your feed beyond that. Because after that, who knows, you may never see me again. But I want to talk about a couple of different things, right? So as you can tell from the title of the video, we're talking about motivation, depression, and dopamine, right? So the first point that I want to make is that a lot of the times, especially in the springtime where it's darker or rainier, or even if you're in a darker state, you just don't feel motivated to want to do things, right? Like, let's say, for example, you wake up, it's dark, it's cold, and you feel lazy. I mean, just to be completely honest, you feel lazy. You don't feel like doing what you're supposed to do. You don't feel like doing your workouts. You feel weaker. You feel tired. Sometimes you feel like you just not get enough sleep. You look at that alarm clock, even on the other end on the other side of the room, and you really just want to throw something at it or just flip the power switch. Like you really don't feel like doing anything that you know deep down inside you really should be doing. And that's normal. Okay, I think a lot of the times we look at, social media, we look at content associated with, motivation and David Goggins and guys like that, and they say, like, you always got to stay hard. Who's gonna carry the boat? You'll never back down, never what, right? And that's cool. It really is, but not everybody's wired like that, right? Not everybody has that 24/7, 365, twice on Sundays, go, 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 gotta grind, gotta get it. Sometimes we just feel human. Say it one more time. Sometimes we just feel human. And that's okay, because we're human, right? You're not going to feel like getting up and chasing a bag every day. You're not going to feel like getting up and going to the gym every day. You're not going to feel like getting up every day. I mean, at a very basic level, as humans, we have ups and downs, highs and lows, which is why they say you never want to be too low and you never want to be too high. You want to hang out right in the middle, a balanced lifestyle. That's really what you're going for. There's going to be times where you're going to have those highs, and there's going to be times where you're going to have those lows. But for the most part, you really want to hang out in the middle. Because at the end of the day, being human, we're emotional creatures, right? Everyone talks about how girls are emotional creatures, and guys are emotional too. Now, obviously, they're not the cry to rom com. I mean, granted, there are some. I do know a couple guys who they teared up when they watched Snow White, Mulan, all that. Anyway, but we're emotional creatures, meaning that we have emotions. Now, obviously, they're not all sad or anger, but there are a bunch of different emotions that we have to sort through, work through, figure out. And sometimes work is not going to get it done. Like a lot of the times, if you have emotions that you're feeling and you don't know how to process them, so the only way that you go about it is by chasing a bag or running to go do a whole bunch of things to busy your schedule. Where you're like, I'm just gonna lift weights, or like, so I'm gonna make her regret, bro. You're not processing what you're feeling. And I'm not saying that you have to process every little emotion you feel, or every time you feel lazy or just depressed or down. Like, you don't have to do that. There's a difference between pushing through. Wendy today. There's a difference between pushing through and just ignoring the signs, right? So just keep that in mind. Associated with a lot of times you're not going to feel motivated to do something. The second point I wanted to make is that while a lot of people say depression is bad, depression is really trying to save you, right? Because what is depression? Depression is your body's, I guess depression is like your body's response to stress, right? What do I mean by that? Okay, so your body's response to stress, meaning if you're working on a bunch of different things, you're chasing a bunch of goals, you're trying to create the lifestyle that you want, essentially when you feel depressed, that's the gap between where you feel like you should be and where you currently are. Depression is that gap. And you feel more or less depressed if you feel farther or closer to your goals or where you think you can be. That's all depression really is. Depression is just not being where you ideally want to be. So if that's in your job, you feel like you should be doing so much more, you should get that promotion, you should be doing more in the company than where you're at, you're going to feel a sense of depression. If you feel like you're single and you want to be in a relationship, go out on a couple dates, have a couple people, maybe, you do something here and there. But other than that, it just seems kind of surface level, and like you don't really find a connection or you don't really click with anyone. There could be a sense of depression there in the sense that you're looking for that sense of companionship and it's just nothing's filling that void, but you feel like you could and should be there, right? So that's another form of depression. What's the third one? Oh, for your body. Like, let's say, you're working out and you could say you're super skinny like I was, or you're overweight and you feel like you want to look like a fashion model or Giga Chad, whatever the case may be for you. You want to look like something that you're different than where you already are, and so you feel like your workouts, some days you feel like they're not doing what they're supposed to do. They're not moving you closer. They're not moving that needle closer to your goal. And honestly, that can be depressing because, again, that's your body telling you, we feel like you should be here and you're here. So there's this gap. We're disappointed about that. That's all it's telling you. You just need to recognize that. No, depression is just your body telling you, we know you have high goals. This is just a reminder that we know you're working towards it. You're not there yet, but just hang in there, right? This is just that hang in there period. And associated with hanging in there, this brings me to the third point that I wanted to bring up, and that's that your dopamine highs are life checkpoints. Dopamine highs are your life checkpoints. I'm gonna say that one more time. Your dopamine highs are your life checkpoints. Now, for anyone who's ever played racing games, that's Forza, Need for Speed, in an arcade, if you have a racing game, you'll notice that there's always a timer and you have to go a certain number of laps. And once you hit something called a checkpoint, it's usually a flag, but it's not the black and white checker flag like the finish line. It's usually a different flag color. It's usually white, and the words are blue or something like that, and it says checkpoint. And then you get there, you'll get extra time. It's usually a speed boost. If you have like a nitrous meter, sometimes that'll refill. So a checkpoint is really kind of like mile marker, if you will. It's like you're almost there. We're going to give you a little bit more so that you can get to the next checkpoint. It's the rungs on the ladder associated with climbing the journey. That's what a checkpoint is. What dopamine does in our life is it gives us that high associated with the next burst of motivation for us to continue on to the path or the trajectory that we're already on. So remember, with depression, we feel like we could be here, we're here. What's going to help us close this gap? It's going to be these little dopamine highs and these motivational checkpoints as you get closer. The problem is that between the dopamine highs is this gap. That's where motivation can't help you. It comes down to discipline. Positive self-talk. Really got to coach yourself up, because a lot of the times, especially I've noticed this in social media, you're just not going to feel it. You're just not going to feel it. You're going to post a video like, oh, this is so raw. This thumbnail is so cold. I know I'm just going to get a bunch of views. It's going to blow up. And then you go check on the video a couple days later, it's got 3 views. You're going to quit? You're going to stop? Sure, you put in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours on that one video. You did some research on it. You had to edit this. You had to change that. You had to sacrifice hanging out with some friends. You had to sacrifice going to a concert or doing something different because you're working on your craft that you believe in. And this is the thanks that you get. 3 views. You're going to just stop? just because that one video didn't work. If you talk to any social media influencer that blew up, it's a it's really a gradual process. Like the people posted for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. They grow, and then there might be that one video that kind of spikes everything and puts them on another level. But again, it's always, especially if you're growing organically and you're not buying followers and subscribers, which I'm not gonna lie, that's not how you create community. That's how you create clout. But whole nother conversation. If you're trying to grow your channel organically, it's gonna take time because you're building a relationship. You don't build relationships overnight. Like obviously, if you're a guy and you meet a dude, you be like, "Oh, yo, we've been hooping together." Let's say, for example, like hooping together. Okay, bro, you cool. Let me get your snap. Like you guys might become hoop buddies over time, but even that's gonna take a couple of sessions, seeing you a couple of times, be like, "Oh, okay, cool. Hey, what do you do outside the gym? Do you play 2K? We should hop on the game time." Like that's how you build rapport. It happens over time. It's not an overnight thing. Nobody just sees you one time and be like, "You know what? He's got an honest face. I'm gonna trust him wholeheartedly." Like that's not how life works. You have to build and establish a sense of credibility over time. That's really all it comes down to, which is why you'll come across a channel that has a low subscriber count, a low follower count, and like 3 videos, and you're just like, why would I follow this account? Like they have no proof yet. That's all it really comes down to. There's no proof. So once you get that proof, but again, I digress. So like I said, the dopamine hits are your checkpoints. And dopamine can come in a lot of different ways, right? It can come in bad ways, which could be, alcohol, drugs, corn. What else? Some negative dopamine effects. Those are the three that come to mind. Those could be bad dopamine hits, right? Pleasure food. So if you binge eat, let's say like ice cream, sweets, chocolate, junk food, stuff like that, right? Those could be dopamine hits that make you feel good in the moment. But there can also be good ones, right? So there's accomplishing a task, whether that's making your bed, acts of selflessness. So volunteering, helping somebody else out, whether that's your time, your money, whatever the case may be. There's also working out, right? At the end of a good workout, where you feel like you pushed yourself a little bit and you grew a little more, you're gonna get that dopamine hit. You're gonna feel motivated to go do something, whatever the case may be. Like you're just gonna feel better about it. So what I would say is find a way each day to make a small win, small dopamine checkpoint, whatever that may be. So maybe your dopamine hit isn't something crazy, like you went to a concert or you went out to a club or you hung out with a bunch of friends or had a big party. It could be something small, like you got up today. I was going to say you got up and made your bed, but in some cases, depending on where you're at, you getting up is a checkpoint. You did something. You ate a meal today. You remembered to feed yourself. You hit your water goal, or you hit your step marks for the day. You gave someone a compliment. You said, "Man, I really like that sweater, bro. It looks nice." Or, "I like those shoes." Or, "Girl, I love that makeup on you. It looks good." Like you gave someone a compliment, right? That could be a small win for you. You helped somebody carry their groceries to their car. You called someone and said, "Hey, I know we haven't talked in a while, but I just want to call and let you know I care about you." Something super simple, man. It doesn't have to be massive. But what this is going to do is going to give you just a little bit of dopamine, just enough to get through each day. Especially during these seasons in the spring. It's a little sunnier today, but in the springtime, it's usually darker because it's raining. And if you live in a darker state like Oregon or Washington where it's always raining, that's when it's even more pivotal that you do this stuff because the sun's not out. The vitamin D isn't going to help want to motivate you either because it's going to be dark and gloomy. You feel dark and gloomy. That's just a compound effect. You guys heard me talk about that before. So, like I said, bro, just to recap, right. First and foremost, you're not going to always feel motivated. You're not always going to feel like doing what you know you need to do, and that's okay because you're human. Secondly, your depression is just a little reminder you haven't quite made it yet. We're just giving you that nudge. That's all depression is. Depression is the gap between where you're at and where you want to be, and just a little bit of nudge that you haven't quite made it yet. And lastly, dopamine highs are the checkpoints of life. Make sure you can find a way to get a little bit of dopamine, good dopamine, each day to push yourself through every single day because really, you just need to win today. My basketball coaches, they always, pretty much every coach has said this in some way, shape, or form. But I remember most recently, my college coach, he said, you just need to win today. You just need to win this sprint. You just need to win this drill. Don't worry about how many reps we have. Don't worry about how many minutes are on the clock. If you can give me these 4 minutes, if we can win this 4 minutes, he had us take, in college, you get two 20-minute halves. He had us take 40 minutes and break them down into 4-minute quarters, right? And if we could win 8 of those 4-minute quarters, he said we can guarantee that we'll win the game. And what that meant is if we can get more stops than them, if we can outscore them, if we can move the ball better, if we can have less turnovers than them, if we can get more rebounds than them, if we can, in some of those categories, make more free throws. In any one of those categories, if we can beat that team in 8 of those 10 quarters, we can guarantee the win. And most of the time, wouldn't have to go to overtime. So that's really what has to come down to. You're breaking it down day by day. You're just trying to win today. So today is Wednesday. I'm just trying to win Wednesday. Thursday will worry about itself. Tuesday, already took care of. Today, I'm trying to win Wednesday because Thursday's not promised. Tuesday's already happened. Nothing I can do today is going to change what happened yesterday. So just try to win today. With that being said, if this is your first time on the channel and you watch to the end, I appreciate you and your attention span not being as short as a goldfish. But like I said, don't like, don't dislike, don't comment, don't share, just observe, ruminate on it, meditate on it, think about it. If this is your second time on the channel, go ahead and like, dislike, comment, share, run up those engagements so I can kind of gauge how you guys feel about this. Because at the end of the day, while I do want to push content that the community wants, these are also lessons that I'm learning and things that I'm going through in my life. So some of the content may not be what the community wants, but it's stuff that I'm going to share because it's things that are happening to me during this journey to the top 1%. And then, like I said, if this is your third time, you're a three-peater. You've been to the finals multiple times. You've seen the dance. I need you to go ahead and win for me this one time. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel because you've already dedicated. This is information that the algorithm has identified you like, need, and consume. So why not just go ahead and subscribe? It'll always be in your feed. You won't have to look around for it. You hit that bell icon, that's going to notify you associated with when new videos drop. So like I said, I do appreciate everybody here on the channel for listening because at the end of the day, like I said, we're all humans. We're all on this earth. God put us on this planet for a reason. And at the end of the day, we've learned nothing from COVID. Community and fellowship are the two biggest things that are going to keep a nation, a neighborhood, or a family together. So with that being said, I'm out. Peace.
Always been a status symbol.